You open your banking app. You already know what you're going to see, but you check anyway. The number sits there. Not terrible, not safe either. Just enough to keep everything running, just enough not to fall behind. And like most people, you make the same quiet promise again. Next month will be better. Next month, you'll finally create some space. But most people never notice something important happening during this phase of life. The routine starts to harden. Work, earn, pay, repeat. Nothing feels dramatic, nothing looks broken, but something is slowly changing underneath it. Because the real pressure most people feel about money isn't just about how much they make, it's about how many commitments they accumulate. And every new commitment does something the system never announces. It makes leaving harder. Because money doesn't just buy things, it quietly decides how much freedom your future self keeps. And once payments start stacking, something subtle begins happening. Options start shrinking, not suddenly, gradually, quietly, year by year. It feels like you're just managing money. What you don't see is you're slowly entering structures designed to keep you predictable. And predictable people are the easiest for systems to hold. To understand why this happens, you have to understand how the money system actually works. Let's start with a simple question most people were never really taught to answer. What is money actually? You've probably heard the technical definition: medium of exchange, store of value, unit of account. All correct, almost useless in real life. Here's the version that explains what you actually experience. Money is organized permission. It is a system that determines who can access time, resources, and stability. When you get paid, you are not receiving wealth itself. You are receiving access, a recognized signal inside the system, a number that allows you to request other people's labor, their time, their output. That only works because everyone agrees to trust the structure behind those numbers. They trust the system will still function tomorrow. Trust is the real foundation, and here is the first hidden rule most people never get taught. Most money isn't physical, it isn't cash, it isn't coins, it is numbers inside databases. Your bank balance is an entry in a ledger, and most of those numbers exist because someone, somewhere, signed a debt agreement. Most people imagine banks as storage containers. Money goes in, money comes out, like a shared pool. That is not how modern money mostly works. When a bank approves a loan, it usually does not move existing money. It creates new entries, new numbers appear, new purchasing power enters the system. Loans create deposits. Deposits come from debt, which means something important most people never realize. Your money often exists because someone else owes payments. Someone else's obligation supports your liquidity. Someone else's future work supports today's balances. The system runs on commitments, and those commitments only remain stable as long as most people keep paying. That is the quiet foundation, not cash, not assets, ongoing obligation. Now we add the next layer, interest, the pressure engine of the entire structure. Imagine a bank creates $1 million in loans. $1 million now exists in the system, but attached to that money is something else, repayment plus interest. More must come back than was created, which raises a simple mechanical question. Where does the extra come from? More activity, more borrowing, more expansion somewhere else. This is not a conspiracy. It is a structural consequence. Money enters as debt. Debt carries interest. Interest creates pressure. Pressure requires growth. And that pressure shows up in normal life in very familiar ways. Work more, earn more, stay stable, stay employed, stay current, keep going. If your financial life sometimes feels like motion without progress, this is part of why. You are feeling a local version of a structural force, and the system does not require you to succeed. It only requires you to continue. Now add the human layer, because the money system does not just run on math, it runs on predictable behavior, and modern financial systems are extremely effective at aligning with human patterns, 3 patterns especially.
The first is present bias. Humans naturally value now more than later. Immediate relief feels stronger than delayed benefit. A dollar today feels more powerful than a dollar next year. So financial systems evolved around that behavior. Credit cards, instant approvals, buy now, pay later, zero down offers. They allow something very specific. Future time gets exchanged for present comfort. You get the upgrade now, the convenience now, the lifestyle now. Your future self handles the payments. Debt is time reassigned. Used carefully, it can build stability. Used automatically, it builds obligation. The second pattern is loss avoidance. Humans feel losses stronger than gains. Losing $100 hurts more than gaining $100 feels good. So avoidance becomes natural. Not checking balances, not opening statements, not reviewing numbers. Avoiding information avoids emotional friction, but it also removes correction. Delay increases dependency. The third pattern is status signaling. After basic needs are met, money becomes communication, signals of stability, signals of belonging, signals of progress. Car, phone, neighborhood, travel, these are not just purchases, they are social positioning signals. And the system is very good at offering those signals early, before they are truly affordable. Monthly payments make future costs feel smaller. Entry becomes easy, exit becomes expensive. This does not mean people are irrational. It means systems are built around predictable behavior. Now something important becomes visible. The same financial tools produce completely different outcomes depending on how they're used. Debt is the clearest example. Most people use debt to consume, upgrade lifestyle, reduce friction, increase comfort. That usually produces three results. Obligation increases, lifestyle increases, flexibility decreases. Future income becomes committed, present comfort is exchanged for future constraint. Now look at how debt functions differently when used to acquire assets, business expansion, rental property, cash flow systems. In those cases, something different can happen. Debt increases, but capacity can increase too. Future income may expand. If returns exceed borrowing costs, pressure shifts direction. The same tool, different structural outcome. Time then becomes the multiplier. Compounding quietly rewards position, but compounding requires something many people do not have: margin, uncommitted income, stability, time without interruption. If most income is already allocated to past decisions, compounding has little space to operate. Yesterday's commitments reduce tomorrow's options. This does not mean the system is malicious. It means starting position matters, safety margins matter, timing matters, knowledge timing matters. The system feels very different depending on where you stand inside it. So what changes once you understand this? Not instant wealth, not instant relief, something more important. You stop interpreting everything as personal failure, because much of what feels like pressure is structural pressure. You were taught how to use money, spend, save, earn, but rarely how the structure itself operates. Once you see the mechanics, patterns become visible. You notice when debt is buying time versus consuming time. You notice when payments are purchasing status versus purchasing stability. You notice when income increases but flexibility decreases. And something else becomes difficult to ignore. Many modern financial systems quietly reward predictability over freedom, stability over optionality, consistency over flexibility, because predictable participants stabilize systems, and stable systems prefer reliable participants. Which leads to a realization most people feel but rarely say out loud. The system does not trap people suddenly. It narrows gradually, payment by payment, commitment by commitment, upgrade by upgrade, until leaving becomes complicated. Not impossible, just costly, usually badly timed. Most people never notice the narrowing while it is happening. Only after options shrink, only after flexibility drops, only after switching becomes disruptive. Because the system rarely announces constraint, It introduces comfort first, then obligation, then maintenance, then dependence. And by the time most people recognize the pattern, they are no longer just earning inside the system, they are stabilizing it. And systems rarely release what stabilizes them.